Welcome back, everybody. Welcome. Please help me hit the like button. Thank you. Help me hit the like button. Let's go. Let's get into some work today. Welcome back. My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Of course, today, the theme today is going to be why most real estate rentals lose money and how we beat the system. I started a series last week, so if you missed that, make sure you go back and watch that series. Today, I have about 4 different subtopics I want to talk about. Okay. Yes, on this live stream, I'm going to talk about pre-foreclosures, secrets bank don't want you to know. I'm also going to talk about wholesale real estate in the UK, secrets they won't tell. Of course, I'm going to share some resources here. You probably know the answer already. If you know that I'm a normal human being, I have biases. And of course, we're going to talk about list pendings, explain how to spot hidden property deals. All right. So without any further ado, so we can save time, because I know you guys are busy about your business of the day. I also want to get back to some other business of the day. Without any further ado, I'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So let's talk about pre-foreclosures. Secret banks don't want you to know. Again, we are going to talk within the context of real estate rentals, how they're losing money, how people are losing lots of money. But as this part of our face on this particular channel, my Empire Pro, I really just want to focus on practical things you can actually execute right away. The software that I'm using is called PropStream. It's a web-based software that you can take advantage of. And you can easily just find it at my Empire. You can take a trial of it, free trial of it at myempirepro.com/propstream. So you're going to see me use it a lot. Okay. And if you decide you want to be a customer of PropStream, you'll be supporting the platform, and I will appreciate that. All right. So let's talk about pre-foreclosure secrets that the banks don't want you to know. If you know what, it's let me see here. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry about that. Just give me 1 second, guys. Let me just make sure. Submit this. Submit it. Okay, we could make that happen. All right, sorry about that, guys. So we're back here. Yeah, so I use this PropStream for everything. Again, the bank, this is I'm just gonna go with Somerset County today. Somerset County in New Jersey is one of my target market. All right. Yes, I just said that out loud. It doesn't matter to me. You can target it if you want, but in target market, you can in that target market. I mean, there are how many counties around the nation? Somerset County has 399 pre-foreclosures. Okay, a lot of that are people's rentals. A lot of that is. Let me make sure my audio is working. Actually, okay, good. A lot of that is people. Hey, Marriott, good to see you, Marriott. A lot of that are people's properties. A lot of that is landlord tired, something we call tired landlords. Tired landlords are people that basically don't live in the property, but they've owned the property for 7 years. Okay, there is a general assumption that once somebody has been a landlord for 7 years, they're probably tired of dealing with tenants, and the average landlord of a two-family units, two or three, 2 to 4, anything 4 units, 4 units property or less, and they've owned it for 7 years on an average, the entire landlords, they would happily give you the property and get rid of it, because usually they are in the losses. Okay, as a matter of fact, in my church, I was talking to one of the elders in my church the other day, and he was he blabbed it out that they just closed the deal. I said, just close the deal, you didn't talk to me. He was like, oh, no, it's just for a friend. I was like, okay, whatever. But he basically said that they've done that, been there, done that, and most people that have tried to be landlords actually feel that way. They feel tired. Okay. But here's something that people don't know about pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure, first of all, what is pre-foreclosure? And why are we talking about it in real estate investing? It's very simple, all right? Pre-foreclosure is basically the lawsuit that, well, foreclosure is the lawsuit that the bank files to try to collect on a defaulted loan. So people take mortgages, right? They collect loan to buy a piece of property, and then people stop making their payment. If they stop making their payments, at some point here in New Jersey, last time I checked, about 3 months, 3 months, they allow you grace to catch up. After another 2 to 3 months, they will file a paperwork at the courthouse. It's called the intention to foreclose on you, basically. And they're going to take the property. They're attempting, it's a collection activity. They're attempting to take the collateral away from you, right? The property. So some people say, oh, so you never owned the property? No, you did own the property, but they owned the promissory note that you signed, using the property as the collateral damage for in case you default, right? So that's what that is. But what you didn't know is that the bank is just as scared as you are, right? Well, not exactly scared, but the bank has a lot at stake, okay? Because for every foreclosure on their books, it becomes what you might look at as bad credit. You know, like as an individual, you have bad credit, right? So the more foreclosures so if a bank issue like 100 pieces of mortgages, right? And they have a certain threshold, right? That they want, that they understand that life happens, that they might have to file this foreclosure lawsuit against individuals who have not paid for whatever reasons. But honestly, the less of those type of issues they have, the better for them, because they do have their own credit ratings. And if they keep giving out a bunch of loans and people are not paying, that's going to come back and bite them in the butt. You feel me? That's going to come back and bite them in the butt. So it's very, very important to know that the bank is just, they have a lot at stake, just as much as you do, probably 10,000 times more, right? So that's a secret you need to know. So when you are in pre-foreclosure, let's say you are a person facing foreclosure potentially, and the bank has filed paperwork at the bank, there's a principle that they call you pay, you stay. You pay, you stay, right? If you pay, they just want the money. That's what they want, okay? But they also understand that they're not always going to get the money, but they would like to cut their losses as much as possible. So there's something at the bank that they call it non-performing assets, right? The bank don't want your house. They don't want the house, okay? So I'm talking to you as a potential or an existing investor, right? The banks don't want the house. What they want, again, is the money. So what money? How much money? Well, oftentimes, if we're dealing with pre-foreclosures, people are owing a lot more than the property is worth, right? So you just have to be open to potentially negotiating. So if we go here and go under pre-foreclosure, and I'm looking at this house is under pre-foreclosure, is a house on Bridgewater. Let's just look at the first one, right? It's saying an estimated value of $585,000. Okay, estimated value $585,000. That means averaging out in the market is just a quick estimate, right? You probably want to drill in a little bit more to see what the property is actually worth in real time, right? because they sometimes they just blanket out a whole neighborhood, and that's not good enough for a comp. Okay. So if you go here, hopefully, let me see here. Okay. Let me go under. I don't want to be under the property details because people's information are there, right? So if you go here, you look under pre-foreclosure detail, right? We just know that this property has what they call notice of lease pendings. Okay, notice of lease pendings with a lender, Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, right? This pre-foreclosure was recorded last year, April 2024. How long does it take before they finally foreclose on the property? It takes a while. It takes a while. Remember, the bank don't want the property. That's the number one secret here today. They don't want the property. They want the money. If you understand that they want the money, then it puts you in a position as an investor to know that you can approach homeowners, like for example, this homeowner, and you can say, hey, explore the options that they have. They might want to sell, they might not want to sell, right? But for this property, if you go under lien detail, we can see what kind of money that they owe against the property. I can see a $614 for a tax lien for unpaid sewer. Okay, unpaid sewer. What else do they have? A lien number 2, $540. Keep in mind, this property is worth $585,000, right? But yet they have a lien for $614 against it. You say, so I could just pay the taxes and you get the, well, oftentimes it's not that easy, but you never know. Some people have hit jackpot like that before. They just pay the bills. They give them a couple of $1,000s. They say, you know what? Take the property away. What else other lien do they have against this property? They have another $540 here. Unpaid sewer. Okay. Now, if we go under mortgage, we can see here that there is a $162,000 mortgage against this property. It's a financing that they did back in 1998. How far do you think they've probably paid down, right? This was, they purchased this property back in 2/25/1998 under, let me see if I can see a transfer of sales from that time. Let's see here. Yep, 1998 sale amount is $162,000. And if we go under mortgage again, we can see there's a mortgage for $162,000. Now, sometimes this is accurate, sometimes not so accurate. There's a second loan here. There's a current mortgage, right? Well, this is mortgage history, but there's a active. It looks like there's a current mortgage of only $23,000. And there's an estimated loan payment of $821. What if you approach these people and they're just so tired for whatever reason? Okay, it doesn't have to be all the way negative. They might just be like, you know what, just give me $10,000 and I'll walk away. What if, right? So this candidate of a house will be, if the property is worth $585,000 estimate, right? Average sales price in the area is $487,000. The average days of, if you place a house on the market, the average days on the market is 51 days. Okay, so you could turn around and pay $100,000 for this house. Potentially, you pay off this mortgage of $23,000, or you might decide that, no, why don't I take over the payment? And I know I could rent this house for probably double this, right? Some people have creative financing that they put together like that too. That's another way. That's another, you can find it in the book, Real Estate Money Secrets. If you want access to the book, ask me. I will try to remember to place the link into the, so you can download them for free, the PDF for free, but you can also get them everywhere. They're on Amazon. So anyway, so we have monthly rent of monthly rent in that area. It says, you see a tab here that says opportunity, monthly rent of $1,650 $58, and there's a monthly payment of $821 against this property. But there's also taxes, right? If you go under here, you can see probably under property details, we can see that there are taxes. There's a HOA fee, homeowners association fee of $309 probably monthly, right? And then where are the taxes? Taxes is $8,000 per year. So I don't know, if I do a quick math, I don't know, maybe that falls in around $600 to $700 a month, right? Something like that per month. Okay, 600 plus 300, let's just say $1,000. Let's say you're paying $1,100, right? Plus let's just say, yeah, but you have an opportunity here for $1,600. You take over the payment, you make sure the house is well maintained. Let's look at this property. It looks clean, right? Okay, it looks newly renovated. I don't know what's going on here, but again, this house is was in pre-foreclosure, was recorded at pre-foreclosure. You don't call them or reach out to them to talk about their foreclosure. You're just offering to see if they'll be willing to sell the property. This is pre-foreclosure. These are the opportunities in pre-foreclosure. But in terms of if you end up with a property, I won't have time to go over that right now. If you end up with a property that has negative equity, meaning they owe way too much on the property, you would reach out the same way. But then there's an additional layer on that. This used to be a big bread and butter for me. Additional layer is that you have to now negotiate with the bank that they owe money against, and it's called short sale. Okay, oftentimes you will need to have a license or have a person that is licensed agent on your team to make this happen. I always do. Okay, so these are some of the opportunities available with pre-foreclosure that you might not be previewed to. If you pick up this kind of properties, it's very unlikely, and you turn them into rentals, it's unlikely that you lose money. You know why people are losing money? Because they keep going into the retail market to pay full price for these properties. In this environment right now, it's just dangerous. Okay, instead you need to set up a marketing machine that reaches out to this kind of people, and then you cherry pick, find the best deals. You keep that to yourself. The rest of them you flip them to other investors or potential home buyers. They will buy a discount from you. All right, if you want more information about that, feel free to reach out to me. Let me move on to some other stuff here. All right, I'll be back. All right, welcome back. So wholesale real estate in the UK, again, secrets they won't tell you. The terminology is probably not wholesale in the UK. All right, I don't know this disclaimer, but I have something I want to share with you. Disclaimer, okay? They don't have the terminology. They don't maybe now they do, but last time I checked, they don't have the terminology wholesale real estate in the UK. Okay, but last time I checked, there are quite a few people that make money with real estate in the United States from outside of United States. Okay, and that's what I wanted to share with you on this segment real quick. Okay, now again, I know last week I talked about being able to partner with us. The link is always scrolling to the screen if you're interested in that. But for the rest of this series, I just want to share my stories, share some of the tons of real estate stories, the knowledge that I have. I want to continue to share with you, because inside of those stories are some of the nuances that if people just knew, they would probably avoid getting into problem with real estate. Okay. Now, most people, when they lose money in real estate, they won't tell you. I just want you to know that they won't tell you that they lost money in real estate. They might tell you the day that they made a lot of money, but they won't necessarily tell you about the money that they lost. Okay, so let's just be aware of that. Okay, so now back to UK wholesaling real estate. I want to talk to you about potentially wholesaling United States real estate from the UK. If you want to do that smoothly, it's better you partner with somebody who is on ground. But you don't have to partner off the bat. You can actually start marketing first. And then once you find good leads, then you can partner with people for disposition. So if everything I just said to you sounds strange, it's okay. I got you. I got you. Okay. So with wholesale real estate, there's 5 stages. Okay. There's 5 stages, but there's three operations that actually moves a deal through those 5 phases, and I want to share that with you real quick. All right, so we call it wholesale because you get to pick up properties very cheaply using real estate contracts, right? You pick them up at 50 cents to 70 cents on the dollar. That means 50% to 70% of what the property is worth after repair. Because if the house needs work, you need to actually adjust for that. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's say a property is worth $100,000 on the market today. If it's perfect, sparkling clean, right? If it's worth $100,000, when you are working with me here and you understand this game as an investor, when somebody reaches out and they want to sell, I prefer inbound. Okay, there's outbound where you reach out to them and you cold call them, or cold call, or you knock on doors. Those are all outbound prospecting or marketing, right? I prefer inbound. Why? Because it put me in a position of authority and they called me. So now the conversation is just a lot more easier, and I put all my energy in prospecting inbound leads. Okay. You don't have to. It's probably cheaper to market outbound by simply knocking on doors, but that consumes time. Now you have to go on neighborhoods and be knocking on doors, and God helps you if a dog doesn't chase you down the streets. Okay. I've tried them in the past. It's just it's not my thing. Right? So I prefer inbound, where you spend money and skills on marketing skills, right? And then people reach out if they want to sell. So we have phase one. We call it the marketing. Inside of that marketing phase, right? You pass from one stage to another. Stage one is data to contact. Data is everything you have access to with PropStream that I've been showing you all along. Again, you can try PropStream for free at myempirepro.com/PropStream over there. Okay. Now, data is basically like the pre-foreclosure data, vacant property data. Let me show you. I'll show you. It's better I show you, right? So today we're basically going inside of right. We see these are all it says MLS. That means multiple listing systems. Is basically where licensed real estate agents, this is where they list properties for sale. Okay. When you click on here, you can see all the properties on sale, actively for sale on the market right now, right? On the MLS. Well, if you want to, it might not be active, okay? But you can see here it says active status, active status, active. Some of them are expired listings. Then you also have pre-foreclosures 399. This is what we call data, right? You can see the data of what's going on. I have what I call the 11 points version 3 here. I will take time to explain that in the nearest future. These are properties that fit a certain criteria that I've already set as filters. It's a saved filter basically. And these are properties that if I was setting up a direct mail as a form of marketing, meaning I want to send letters to them. This was something I did for 6 months. I did it for 6 months back in as soon as I graduated with a master's degree in 2005. I started this activity for 6 months and I closed my first deal 6 months later in December 2005. That deal paid me $10,000. It was supposed to be $20,000, but the seller got greedy at the closing. He saw that I was about to make $20,000. I know you're about to call me greedy, but whatever. Just watch this, right? So the seller got greedy and we step outside. I say, let's step outside, bro. What's going on? Like, listen, you're about to make $20,000 off of my house. Yeah, bro. Nah, bro. I can't. You know what? What if I give you $10,000? Would you close it? He said, let's do it. Done deal. Extra $10,000. How many people you know wake up to extra $10,000 in a given day? It was sweet, right? That's one story I can share with you. I have tons of stories. I'll continue to share them with you. But anyway, we closed the deal. And that was my first deal. What was I doing? I was sent letters to like these 40 pieces of property, but it wasn't this. I didn't have this type of knowledge that I have today at the time. I just sent letters to all the pre-foreclosures, and I spent $100 every week. I was making $300 per week driving FedEx, delivering in New Brunswick, and I would take $100 and I would spend it for 6 months, and we closed that deal back then. And after that, the journey has changed. Of course, lots of ups and downs. I'll tell you more of my story later on. Anyway, these are data. The point I was making here is that this is data right here. Okay. So you take data and then you turn data into contacts. You can contact them or they contact you, right? That contact is the main piece that we call the marketing there, right? And from contacts, you turn them to leads. As soon as they express that they are open to selling, that's leads. Okay. The moment they said, yes, I want to sell, that becomes a lead. The interest is what makes it a lead. And then we move on to phase two, which is acquisition, right? Acquisition is basically when you turn that lead into a contract, a piece of paper that says, I'm selling you this at this price point. That's when you turn it into contract. Okay. And then we go into phase three. We call it the disposition. This is when you turn that contract into a piece of asset or cash. Cash is always better. Well, asset is always good too, right? So asset is when you say, I want to keep this as a rental, as a part of my rental portfolio, right? When you buy this property. So when we say we lock in the deal, we turn it to contract, we're locking the contract at 50 to 70% of what the property is worth, minus the repair cost. Okay. So there's a repair estimate. You look at the property, does it need cosmetics or does it need a full gut out renovation, right? Or rehab. And then you minus that from the 70%, between 50 to 7%. It could be less, it depends on the deal, right? But bottom line is it has to be below 70%. That's what sets you apart as a winner from everybody else. All right, so we turn that contract into closing deals, assets, or anything. That's basically everything that goes into that. So, but what were we talking about? That's wholesale real estate here in the United States. But what makes this really key here? Hold on one second. Uh-oh. Let me look at something here. Hold on one second. What time is it? Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. I love that all of this is happening in real time. Just give me 1 second. Uh, Thank God that I have a monitoring screen here. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So let's keep it moving. All right. What was that? So wholesale real estate, the idea of buying discounted properties exists everywhere in the world. Anything. So wholesale, the idea of wholesale means you're buying something less than the retail price so you can save money or resell them, particularly to resell them to retail, right? That's what makes you an investor, right? So it's not about the terminology. So in the UK, in Nigeria, in Africa, in the Europe, in the Asia, someone is out there smarter than you, finding ways that they do a little bit of research, they find ways to reach out for opportunities to buy properties at a wholesale price. Okay. But again, for you to do it consistently, if you go to a neighborhood around you and you start knock on doors, and it's not like a operation, a business operation, you're probably going to get tired. Okay, you're probably going to get tired of that, and eventually you're going to just waste resources for 2 weeks, and they say it doesn't work, you leave. So how do you make sure you don't do that, right? You understand that this is a marketing operation. It's something you have to do consistently over a period of time. So, but what do you want to do with all these properties? You flip them to other investors for, you flip them, okay? You flip them for profit. Here we call them wholesale assignment fees, okay? You might call it, you might coin a different name that aligns with the culture of that area. But as long as people are buying retail price, somebody is smart enough to know that they can buy at the wholesale price to keep for their own portfolio for rental properties, or to resell to retail buyers, and then they make profit. And that what do you call it, the markup is basically your profit. You do that consistently, and you just make sure that the money aligns, the investment into the resources, the time, the resources, whatever marketing resources you need. Today, in this digital marketing world, it is no wonder I wrote a third book called Digital Marketing Certified. You just have to understand a few principles. It's all in this book, Digital Marketing Certified. And then you're able to set up this type of operation. And all these properties are coming to you. What properties? Not the properties. The sellers, they're calling you and say, yes, I will like, you buy houses, yes, what do you have? You do the math, you assess the property, you analyze, and then you lock in a deal, and then you shop that deal to other people that will pay you a little bit of money for finding the deal. It's really that simple. But in United States, it's a thing. There's a couple of states that are frowning out at it, because there's some people that have also mismanaged this opportunity. But it is always going to be a thing. You better believe it. Somebody say, is it legal? Yes, of course it's legal, because you're giving people what they want and you make profit, and you're helping the economy thrive. Of course it's legal, but however, there are regulations that are being created, and sometimes, as these regulations are being created, and that creates hiccups and stuff like that. But there's always a workaround. If you're willing to walk around the workaround legally, then you stay in the market. Everybody else will exit the business. I exited the business briefly in 2008. It was a bad idea because I was too weak to continue in a recession, right? But I'm back here, so that's all that matters, right? So anyway, it is legal. It's legal anywhere you go in the world. And if you want to do it in the United States from anywhere in the world, you can do it too. But you're not a real estate agent. So let's be careful here. You cannot represent a buyer or a seller's interest. You can find deals for us, and we will pay you happily for finding deals for us. You can do that remotely. You can also partner with us to do that, to run a pipeline, a marketing pipeline, and we're always open for that. You can see the information scrolling on the screen. Okay, so those are things that your parents probably won't tell you, something that your boss might not be able to tell you. But do me a favor, if you like this information, hit like, subscribe, share. I have some other more information I want to share with you. I'll be right back. All right, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's talk about list spendings. So you might have encountered this terminology out there, and you're wondering, what is list spendings? What is list spendings? What is list spendings? What does that even mean, right? List spendings was one of the first things that I learned about this game. Um, now it depends on where you are in the world, but I think it's French language that was borrowed, and they use it in real estate. And honestly, oh, it's not French, it's Latin. It's Latin for pending lawsuit. Okay, I think somebody have actually tried to correct me on this channel before. I always think French, but anyways, pending lawsuits. But why are we talking about that in real estate, right? So I'm looking at Gemini says in real estate, a lease pending is Latin for suit pending is a formal notice recorded in public records that a lawsuit involving the title to or other interests in a specific property is ongoing. It warns potential buyers or lenders that any future interest they acquire in the property is subject to the outcome of the pending legal action. That's a more technical way to put it, right? While not a lien itself, a lease pending makes the property less attractive to buyer. We call them a cloud. It's a cloud over the title of the property, right? It makes them less attractive to the buyer as the title may be affected by the lawsuit resolution. Right, exactly. So what a lease pending does is serves as a public notice. Public notice, that means everybody gets to see this. They see it. Okay. So everybody's seeing this information, right? Makes the property less attractive, not the people like you and I, right? Because we see an opportunity, right? So lease pendants is another opportunity that you can chase after so that you don't end up with rentals that will end up losing money. Remember, it's less attractive, meaning less demand, meaning you have a property to sell, but you can't sell it because there's a public notice against the title of the property. What that means to you is that there's an opportunity to make money. Okay, but even better, an opportunity to serve, an opportunity to offer value to a property. Okay, is an opportunity to offer value to a property owner somewhere, a potential distressed property. So again, if we go back to prop stream here, you look at prop stream. If we go, I'm going to clear all. Okay, if I clear all, I go under filters, I go under pre-foreclosure, this tab right here, right? So depending on the county you are in the United States, there's how many counties are in the United States? Let me see how many counties. Many counties in New Jersey, I know it's 20 or 21. This is my home base. But in the US, there are 3,144 counties. Real estate are recorded, public notices, public information about real estate in the United States are recorded. I want to say safely at the, I want to say safely, I don't want to be absolute, but I think they're all recorded at the county level government. Okay, so if you're looking for information about about real estate, public notices, bread and butter. Somebody said in the UK they're not public. I don't know, but there's somehow some way the people in that arena they find the information. Okay, so don't get stuck on the excuse. Use the excuse. Turn them into questions. Go and get those questions answered. There are 3,144 counties and county equivalents in the USA. So there are places they might not call them county, but they're essentially counties, right? So for example, you go to certain towns in the southern part of the United States, police are called the sheriff, right? Here, sheriffs are county security officers, okay? But doesn't matter. Some people call them the cop, right? Doesn't matter as long as people are exchanging value, money, right? That's all that matters. So back to prop stream here. On prop stream, you can see recording dates. Okay, recording dates. You can literally go back 3 months. Let's go back. Let me close this. Close this. 1, 2, 3. I'll go back to the 5th, to today, recording date. Last 3 months, so it turns automatic. So I could easily select last 3 months or last 6 months here. There's auction date. There's a difference between foreclosure. So lease pendings is almost the same thing as pre-foreclosure. Foreclosure is when it's completely foreclosed on. The property has transferred title from the person that couldn't make payment to the bank or whoever foreclosed on it, the lien holder, right? The person that they were owing some kind of money against, right? At that point, it's foreclosed. Everything before that is pre-foreclosure, right? But a list pending particularly is the public notice. Once the bank or the bank with the help of the courts, right, the superior courts of the county, once they file that paperwork, it becomes public. Everybody can see it. What do I mean public? Well, I think they used to publish a newspaper. I'm not sure, but it means you can walk into any county house. You go through the doors. They do the what do you call it? Here they do the check metal detector, right? The sheriff will walk you. Say, okay, I'm going to the second floor. Second floor here. Well, depends on which part, right? You go there and they'll give you access. You can look at all the information you want. Some counties now have them available on the internet. You can literally log into a portal and see all of this information. At that point, when it's public, right? Some people will say expressly public, right? Meaning they're not knocking or saying, hey, it's public, right? It means you have access to it if you want, okay? At that point, it's called list pendings. List pendings means opportunity for real estate investors. There's a difference between real estate investor and a landlord. A landlord typically is overglorified superintendent. We call them the super, right? And usually they don't get compensated enough for the amount of headache that comes with landlord activities. Okay? So that's why I'm telling you upfront right now. Like, if you're not structuring the deal in a way that you can afford a property manager, you're probably going to run into trouble eventually. You're going to get drained. Your bank account is going to get drained. And you're going to look back and be like, what am I? And then you might end up losing the property. Some people actually manage to pull through. But in this environment, with the prices out there for real estate, with the way the values are skyrocketing, it's usually not worth it. Okay, so that's what lease pendants is. Lease pendants is it's a great opportunity for you. And you how do you spot them? You can literally walk into the county, like I said, and go pull the data manually, print them out. Why would you want to do that in 2025 and beyond, when for free right now you can take a free trial of PropStream and have access to all of the information across the nation, United States precisely. All right, so if I put that in there, you can also, I'm not gonna say pre-foreclosure release date. So pre-foreclosure release, I think it means that somebody has paid up or something like that. It might mean that, or it is now completely foreclosed on. So I'm not gonna worry about that. I'll find out what that means for you guys later. Okay. But if you set that up like that, you can say owner occupied. I like non-owner occupied, because when the owner is occupying the property, the emotions are involved. This is their home, and it's just a lot more headache, rightfully so, that you have to walk through, navigate when you're prospecting. But if they're not living in the property, they're like, they can't wait to get rid of this piece of property, right? I would be careful with this vacant. Sometimes it's not accurate, but I would say vacant is a plus. Okay. If you notice that when you set it to yes, if the house is vacant, that means this property is a headache for real, because the ideal is that the property is being used. All right. And it's either rented out or they live in it. Right. So if it's vacant, there's more reason why they might want to get rid of it. Now you can set the year of ownership here if you want. I like that year of ownership to be at least 7 years, but I'll put it minimum 10 years. Okay. uh, Owner type, individuals are best. Okay. If they have it on an LLC, I've done deals with LLCs before, but first is individual. Somebody that will buy a property with the individual name is not a sophisticated individual. When I say sophistication, in terms of real estate only. Okay. There's a higher chance they don't want, this is not what they bargained for. They just want to get rid of the property. Absentee owner location, out of country, out of state. You could do out of state if you see that you're looking for a way to filter down the list. Maybe you have a certain amount of budget for direct mailing. You can do this. Okay. Now I do not use PropStream for any of this. I do inbound marketing, meaning they are calling me and I'm only using PropStream to analyze the value of the property, to analyze the deals. Now to also look up so in order to analyze the value of the property, I have to look up comparables to see what's happening in that marketplace, in that local, because real estate is local, right? In that locality, I need to know what's going on there. And that's what PropStream serves. But if you want to use it for this purpose, you want to pick up the phone and start calling people, you might be able to narrow down the filter down to like 10 pieces of property and call. But here's the downside to that. It increases the chances that you will not be consistent, okay? Because it's a tiring activity, and if you don't get a deal tomorrow, you might just quit. That's why I prefer running a marketing operation where I spend $25 a day or more on social media, digital marketing, and I just sit tight until deals comes in. Okay. I used direct mailing for that similarly in the past. Okay. I just send the letters out. I stopped thinking about it. Occasionally my phone will ring, and a couple of those phone calls, the first 2 years in the 2 to 3 years in the business, first 2 to 3 years in the business, 31 deals closed, averaging $25,000 to $30,000 a deal. The highest being $82,000 net. Okay, so I prefer that. I like to position myself in a place where there's a higher chance to win. If I have to be cold calling, for me as an individual, there's a this extreme higher chance I will quit way too soon. That's just for me. There are many people doing it, cold calling, and they make good money, you know. But usually those that are successful with cold calling also tend to have employees pounding the call for them. They still have to set up systems. They use auto dialers and they do it at scale, right? The ones that are, and there are people that have called maybe 5 calls and they find a deal, but it's a setup for failure, because what happens is that the deal's not going to come, the next deal is not going to come that fast. All right, that's all I have for you today. I will keep coming back every week. I hope that you find value in this. If you find value in it, make sure you tell the algorithms by hitting the like button. Just hit the like button. Make sure it lights blue before you leave. But if you actually want to help me, I hope you want to help me. Share the video with other people that may find it valuable, right? Share with them. But I'm showing up here. I do not sell courses anymore. I'm sharing all the information there is to know for free right here. Okay, I don't sell courses. I believe in we need to be executing. It's all the information you need is out there. Okay, my job here is to help you consolidate so that you can see them in one place. But I'm also looking for partners, people that know they don't have the time to run this, but they want to partner with me. The information is scrolling to the screen. Feel free to reach out in any of those ways. And there are many ways to partner. Okay. If you don't have any money or you have lots of money, if you don't have money, that means you must have time. If you have a lot of money, usually you don't have time. Either way, there's a place where you can fit. Just reach out and we'll talk about it. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.